how are you doing? And welcome to the very last section of my library tour that I've been doing. It's kind of time pressured that I get this done now because these are the books I'm discussing now are basically most of the books that haven't been boxed up yet for moving house. So it's kind of holding up the packing process. But yeah, it's the very last bit. Some big chunky sort of anthologies and things like that, and a few waves and strays that are just in other parts of the house. So yeah, here we go. Let's jump right into it. I'll get these two from the top down first. Notes. So we have The Other Tiger, recent poetry from Latin America, edited and translated by Richard Gwynne. And it, here's what it says on the tin. It's recent poetry, so from like the last, say, 50-60 years to the present, from Latin America. He's concentrating on the Spanish speaking countries, because I don't think he really, I don't know whether he knows how to read or translate from Portuguese, but yeah, it's the Spanish speaking countries that he's focusing on, and it's really good. It's kind of like a whole other world of poetry for me to discover, so it's quite an exciting, vibrant anthology. And then we have Harold Bloom's The Best Poems of the English Language, from Chaucer through Robert Frost. A lot of people get a bit annoyed with this book sometimes, and I can see how. Although personally I think if you're going to buy a book that's is calling itself The Best Poems of the English Language, it's going to be a bit pretentious, it's going to be a bit even slightly elitist really. Just from the title alone, surely you should get that kind of impression. But for the poetry in it, it is some of the best poetry from the periods being discussed. There are some some blind spots and whatever, and some maybe contradictions in Bloom's commentary of the poets he's discussing and his reasons for collecting them in this way. But for the selection of poetry in it, it's still worth the read, in my opinion. But now on something a bit different, not totally different though. We have the Norton Anthology of postmodern American poetry that I bought for uni, but it was like a course that got cancelled right at the beginning of the semester, so I had to swap. But I kept it because there's some really cool, weird stuff in there. But I haven't really got into it that recently, but it's really fun. It looks cool as well. Then we have the Norton Shakespeare. Trusty Norton Shakespeare, back-breaking, comprehensive, not necessarily very pretty, but this is where I go to get my Shakespeare fix and a little workout at the same time. Then we have my trusty Norton Anthology of Poetry. This is something I just randomly leaf through and just jump in and out of all the time. If I maybe hear a poet that I'm not very familiar with, particularly kind of older poets, that tends to be my first port of call to find out a bit more about them and sample some of their work. Then we have the Norton Anthology of English Literature Volume 1, which was particularly for a course I was doing on just kind of a sweeping view of English literature from like the 1500s through to the 1700s, something like that. And it's got all sorts of random stuff in there. It's got, it does have lots of poetry in there, but it's also got some prose works of certain significant figures. It's got bits of the King James Bible in it. It's got I think it's got some selections from Calvin's Institutes and things like that, so it gives you an idea of the culture and the headspace of certain points in time, which is fascinating, but yeah, I haven't really looked at it since uni. Then we have the collected poems of Robert Lowell, a poet who last year I was very interested in getting to know a bit better, and I read it cover to cover, just like the nerd that I am, and I got a fair bit out of it, but it's good to know that I've got it and I can keep coming back to it, because I think his poetry really will do well with a reread. Then we have the selected poetry of Rilke, translated and edited by Edward Snow. This isn't necessarily everything that Rilke would have written, poetry-wise. I think it kind of leaves out a lot of his earlier stuff, and picks up, I think, with the Book of Hours, I want to say. Yeah, it starts at the Book of Hours, so he wrote some collections of poetry before the Book of Hours, but the editor kind of thought that it wasn't really worth translating, or at least not for this volume. So this is fairly comprehensive for Rilke at his very best. Then we have That Glimpse of Truth, 100 of the finest short stories ever written. And again, this is one of these books where I just want to dip in and sample certain writers, and this is a great way to do it. So for writers like Kafka, Borges and stuff like that, it's maybe where I first sampled some of their writing. But there's all sorts of stuff in here. It starts with Aesop's fables. I think it comes all the way through to fairly recently. Let's see. Yeah, it has like The Thing Around Your Neck by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie and stuff like that in it. So it comes up to fairly recent times, and it's nice and floppy, and it's a nice cover, so it's, yeah, lots of fun. Then similar territory, we have the Penguin book of the contemporary British short story. So it's from Ali Smith to Zadie Smith. So this is more of a selection of where the short story is at the moment. I've only really dipped into a couple of the stories in here, and to be honest, haven't enjoyed what I've read so far, but it looks really cool. A nice sort of naked, cloth-bound hardback, and yeah, we'll see. There will be something here that I love. I just haven't got to it yet. Things are going to start falling over. We have The Complete Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, which was, I think, a Christmas present this last Christmas, and it's really fun. It's got all the illustrations that would have been in the edition that I read when I was a kid, but yeah, it's sort of the whole Chronicles of Narnia all in one, so it's got the columns and it's quite heavy and dense, but yeah, just a great edition to have, I think. And this came up recently. This is The Wanderer by Peter van der Ende. It's a sort of picture book, graphic novel thing, just about a little paper boat on its journey. I'll show you another picture just because it's really nice, very beautiful. So that's that. And then we have a Esv Bible that it says on the box it's giant print, which this was a gift, and it's yeah, judging by the size of the print, if I can't read anything else in old age, at least I have this to read, with literally gigantic print. You could probably see it from space. And then just a few of the waifs and strays from around the house that I found. There is Robert Graves, his complete poems, which are a bit sort of not getting on with all of it. There are a few good ones in there, but yeah. And there's Umberto Eco's How to Write a Thesis, which I've been dipping in and out of. And then we have, this is just something I found in a free library a while ago, and I don't know why I picked it up, but it's quite cool. This is the Oxford Illustrated History of Prehistoric Europe. So just kind of textbook of prehistoric Europe, and it looks quite fun. This just might be something I dip into if I'm feeling curious. And then just to finish off, we have some Stephen Donaldson. So obviously from my shelves so far, you might have seen I'm probably not a very big fantasy reader. I've never been one who really goes along with series. I read Narnia and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that as a kid, but after that I haven't really read many series. Just recently my dad just passed these on to me. I think he's reread these for like the third or fourth time or something, and he thought I might like them. And it's literally the whole of the Thomas Covenant series. I think it's split into like 3 chronicles, I want to say, like the first, second and third chronicles of Thomas Covenant, I think. I might be wrong. So we have these, I'm not sure if these are first paperback run or not, I don't know, but they're quite old, I think from the 80s or something, or 70s, I don't know. And they've been well read by my dad. I think these might have been the editions that my grandpa bought, because I know he bought them when they were new or fairly recent. He read them and passed them on to my dad. So it's a bit of an interesting family heirloom. So these are the first lots, and I haven't touched them yet. And it's probably going to be something that I spend the rest of my life going through, because we have then the second Chronicles all in one volume here. So it includes the Wounded Land, the One Tree, and White Gold Wielder. Well, I should probably say what the first Chronicles consisted of. It includes Lord Fowl's Bane, the Ill Earth Wall, which I think Steve Donahue said was quite good. I can't remember now. It was a while ago. And that the power that preserves. So that's the first and second, and then there's the final Covenant, the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, or the last Chronicle of Thomas Covenant. This is The Runes of the Earth, fairly beaten up. I think my dad dropped this when he was reading it in the bath. The Fatal Revenant. I think out of the editions, these are my favourite looking. They're quite cool. Yeah, so the Fatal Revenant. And then Against All Things Ending. It's a really cool cover too. And then, just to finish off, the very last is The Last Dark. So that's all the Thomas Covenant books by Stephen Donaldson. I don't know when I'll start them, and after that I have no idea when I'll be finishing them, because yeah, I'm not a massive fantasy reader, and I feel like I'll probably have to lay a few of my other interests and things aside to make time for it, which is fine. I just haven't worked out when I'll do it. But there we have it. That's all of my books, or at least most of them. I think I might have skipped a few, maybe a few fell through the net, but yeah, that's it. And thanks very much for watching, yeah, let's see what they look like when I move house and they're all reorganised. Yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for bearing with and kind of going through this little journey with me. And I hope you're well wherever you are, and have a great rest of your day, evening, or whatever. Okay, take care. Bye.